Welcome to the 30-Day Green Smoothie Challenge. I commend you for seeking out such a healthy thing to do for yourself. My name is Boutenko, and I'm going to be leading you through this challenge to make it as simple, as easy, and as streamlined as possible, so that you succeed and complete the entire thing and benefit from it immensely. I grew up in the health food world, and I know how difficult it is to completely restructure your diet and cut everything out, especially the tasty stuff. And that's not at all what I'm going to be asking you to do here. The entire 30-Day Green Smoothie Challenge is based on the premise that it's a lot easier to add to your diet than take away. So when I say 30-Day Green Smoothie Challenge, what I mean is that I want you to add 1 quart, or liter if you're in Europe, of green smoothie every day into your diet for 30 days. If you eat a sandwich every day for lunch, I want you to keep eating that sandwich. If you drink coffee in the morning, keep drinking your coffee. I don't want to make this difficult and unmanageable. The only thing that I want you to change is to drink 1 jar of smoothie every single day for 30 days. In a minute, we're going to dive right in and learn all the basics of what a green smoothie is, what a green smoothie challenge is, how to succeed in it. And then in part 2, we're going to learn how to blend smoothies, how to make them tasty every time, and how to shop for food. Before we begin though, I just want to mention one more thing about perfection. It's human nature to strive to be as perfect as possible. I find that in myself. In over 20 years of lecturing, I found that in hundreds of other people, if not thousands. And this is something that's very interesting because we all want to strive for perfection. We want to be as perfect as possible. I caution you though, because when you set your goals too high, often they become unreachable. I'll give you an example out of my own life. I recently read an article about how wonderful running was. And I decided, you know what? In addition to my regular workout routine, I'm going to start running. And instead of starting gradually, like a couple times a week, 3 miles, I decided I was going to run 5 miles every single day. I did it for a week, and then I got tired, and then I quit. And as a result, I haven't benefited from the running, even though I know that it's good for me. Had I started more gradually and done it in a more reasonable fashion, I may have succeeded a lot better than I have now. The same is true of green smoothies. As you begin this thing, I urge you not to be perfect. Just be okay with imperfect. Many people, when they start this thing, they have this fear of fruit, that it's high in sugar. So they start reducing the amount of fruit that's in their smoothies. And as a result, the smoothies become undrinkable. Because the smoothies don't taste good, people don't drink the smoothies. And they don't drink the smoothies, the challenge isn't complete, and they don't benefit from it. So start gradually, follow my recipes, do it for a month, and what you'll notice is that naturally over time, you're going to add more greens and less fruit, and it's going to be painless, and it's going to work. In the interest of making this challenge as convenient as possible for you guys, I've also written an ebook that pairs perfectly with this movie by the same title, 30-Day Green Smoothie Challenge. And this ebook is really meant to be downloaded to your computer, your tablet, or your phone so that you can easily access it at the store and reference a shopping list or a recipe. So make sure that you check that out when you start this challenge. The ebook is available on my website, Boutenko.com. And with that, I'd like to welcome you to the 30-Day Green Smoothie Challenge. A green smoothie is a homemade drink made by blending leafy greens together with fresh ripe fruit. Nothing is bottled, pasteurized, or altered. What you put in the blender is exactly what you get out. A drink that tastes great and carries heaps of nutrition with it. Moreover, the sweetness contained within the fruits counteracts the intensity of the greens and allows you to intake more vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants than you typically would on any given day. In my research, I found that 1 cup of such a smoothie contains between 5 and 7 servings of fresh fruits and greens. If you were to consume 1 quart of such a green liquid regularly, you could potentially drink 32 servings of health every single day. This would supercharge you in ways that you can't even imagine. My mom, Victoria Boutenko, pioneered the concept of green smoothie back in 2005 when she wrote a book called Green for Life. Over the last decade, she's researched smoothies meticulously and published dozens of books on the topic. My involvement in her research opened my eyes to the miraculous benefits that can come from such a simple dietary change. I've seen people tackle everything from diabetes to insomnia simply by incorporating green smoothies into their diet. After years of study and countless experiments on myself, I've concluded that there is no substitute for a diet rich in greens. It's true, we're all unique, we come from different backgrounds, we have distinctive constitutions and blood types and require different practices to achieve the same results. Yet over the years, I've never met a single person who didn't benefit from eating fresh greens. Over the past 10 years, my family and I have conducted over 40 week-long green smoothie retreats worldwide. During our retreats, we've witnessed hundreds of people lose weight and heal their bodies from various ailments. Retreat participants typically notice significant weight loss, improvement in their diabetes, arthritis, insomnia, psoriasis, osteoporosis, colitis, eczema, and many other health issues. The secret behind leafy greens lies in their molecular makeup. Green vegetables, especially those that are dark green, are rich in chlorophyll. When you eat spinach, kale, cilantro, parsley, as well as other greens, you're ingesting a chemical substance that is incredibly similar to hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the oxygen-carrying pigment of red blood cells that gives them their color and helps distribute oxygen throughout the body. When you ingest chlorophyll, you help your body rebuild and replenish red blood cells. This in turn boosts your energy levels and builds a hardy immune system. Additional benefits of chlorophyll include cleansing the body of toxins, fighting infections, breaking down calcium deposits, healing wounds, reducing inflammation, improving circulation, digestion, vision, and eliminating bad breath. Additionally, greens contain lots of fiber, which assists the body in straining away anything that's not conducive to good health. So this is very important. This is exactly why we preach smoothies versus juices. And by the way, I'm not against juice. However, when you juice something, you throw away a very valuable part of the vegetable. You throw away the fiber. And fiber acts like a sponge in our systems. Fiber absorbs toxins and dead cells, chemicals, anything that we don't need in our body, and helps you eliminate it via a bowel movement. When you make juice, the fiber gets spit out one end and you compost it, and thus you're not benefiting from a very valuable part of the fruit or vegetable. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, a healthy adult should consume 26 to 32 grams of fiber every day. However, the average American consumes less than half of that. But there's an easy solution: greens. And greens are packed with fiber. For example, 1 cup of collard greens contains 6 grams of fiber. Unfortunately, you can't reap the benefits of greens if you don't eat them. When compared to complex processed foods with artificial flavors, greens can taste bitter and unpleasant. They require time and preparation in order to be enjoyable, and their high fiber content makes them tough to chew. This is precisely why blending greens in a smoothie makes sense. When you blend dark greens with fresh fruit, you create a drink that's both nutritious and delicious. And it's also easy to consume. Finally, another benefit of making smoothies is that they take very little time to make. Who among us hasn't procrastinated cooking out of laziness or lack of time? I know I have. Luckily, green smoothies are very simple and easy to make. You just cut up some ingredients, throw them in a blender, hit the on switch. In a few minutes, you have essentially a meal in a jar, and you can get going. Knowing how fast and easy it is to make a smoothie helps me conquer all of these "I don't have enough time" excuses and actually make and drink my smoothies daily. The most important component to making a tasty green smoothie is ensuring it has an even consistency and a smooth texture. To attain an even consistency, simply blend your smoothie longer. I blend mine anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes in my Vitamix, and this does the trick. Texture can be a little tricky. I meet a lot of people who say they have trouble drinking smoothies due to their undesirable texture. To guarantee that your smoothies are never fibrous, frothy, or separated, it's essential to add creamy fruit into the mix. There are two kinds of fruit, creamy and pulpy. If you include at least 2 types of creamy fruits into your smoothies, your green smoothies will always have a wonderful texture. Here are some examples of creamy fruit: bananas, blueberries, apricots, mangoes, peaches, nectarines, plums, pears, strawberries, avocados, kiwis, dates, and figs. There are other ones as well, but those are the main ones that are readily available to everybody. Sweetness is another key element of a tasty smoothie, especially when you're serving green smoothies to children or people who have never tasted them before. It is extremely important to make sure that your smoothies taste sweet and delicious. If a child tries a green smoothie for the first time and it has a bland or bitter taste, he or she will most likely never want one again. On the other hand, if you give a kid a smoothie that tastes better than ice cream, your child will forever be hooked on this healthy habit. Pulpy fruit can help in the sweetness sector. While pulpy fruit may not necessarily contribute to the texture of a smoothie, these fruits have pleasant flavors and add sweetness to your concoction. Thus, if you want to ensure your smoothie is both creamy and delicious, add both types of fruit into every green drink you make. Here are some examples of pulpy fruits: apples, melons, grapes, oranges, lemons, grapefruits, Asian pears, and pineapples. As with the previous list, there are others, but these are readily available to everybody. The quality of the produce you use can also define the flavor in positive or negative ways. Often, after conducting a green smoothie demo, people come up to me and complain that when they follow my recipe exactly, they don't achieve the same results. The difference in their smoothie and mine is quite simple. It's the quality of the ingredients that they use. Next time you're in the store, I encourage you to choose the ripest fruit you can find and experience the enhanced nutritional benefits and the decadent flavors gifted to you by nature. If the fresh fruit you want to use in a smoothie is out of season, consider using frozen instead. In some cases, the quality of frozen fruit can be even better than fresh. This is due to the fact that frozen fruit is often harvested and packaged at peak ripeness. As you'll find later on in the recipe section of this video, I often use fresh and frozen fruit interchangeably. So sometimes a recipe will call for mangoes, and it's okay to use either frozen mangoes or fresh mangoes because it'll produce the same delicious result. Thus far, I've discussed several different things regarding making your smoothies taste good, and I'd like to quickly summarize them. So number 1, you're going to blend them long enough, 1 to 2 minutes, to ensure that the consistency is smooth. You're also going to use creamy and pulpy fruit to give them more creaminess and sweetness and make sure that their taste profiles really come alive. I also discussed the importance of using fruit at peak ripeness. Now, if you follow those basic guidelines, your smoothies are going to be phenomenal. You will be truly a green smoothie hustler. But if you want to make mind-blowing smoothies, here are 2 more small tips for you to consider. Tip number 1, remove thick and fibrous stems from your greens. Tossing the stems will enhance the flavor of a green smoothie. I don't bother removing stems from finer plants such as cilantro, parsley, or lettuce, but I do detach stems from chard, kale, and collards. Tough stems can add a bitter or spicy flavor to your drinks, and in some cases lead to indigestion. Tip number 2, remove citrus seeds. The seeds from citrus, while entirely edible, make a whole pitcher of smoothie turn bitter. For this reason, I always make it an effort to remove seeds from any citrus I use in my green smoothies. One of the biggest criticisms of green smoothies is that they're full of fruits and fruit sugar, and thus should be consumed sparingly. I think this is a huge misconception because fruit sugar and processed sugar are very different and react in the body differently. In this section, I'd like to summarize these differences and illustrate why you don't need to fear fruit sugar, especially as it pertains to green smoothie. Since the invention of refined sugar in England in the 10th century, the rate of chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and obesity has increased steadily. The reason for this is likely due to the fact that processed sugar is a foreign substance that our bodies have trouble processing. Table sugar, also known as sucrose, is made by smashing the monosaccharides glucose and fructose together in a factory. When ingested, this type of sugar hits our bloodstreams rapidly and causes a spike in blood sugar. In order to combat this, the body produces insulin, a hormone made by the pancreas. When processed sugar is consumed regularly, the body gets exhausted trying to keep up with the insulin demand, and its ability to produce such hormones diminishes. Eventually, major health problems ensue. Eating fruit does not produce the same effects. While fruit contains some glucose and fructose, it's also full of water, fiber, minerals, vitamins, and antioxidants, all of which help to slow the assimilation of sugar in the bloodstream. Unlike sweet, over-processed food, eating fruit spikes blood sugar minimally and gives the body time to produce hormones at a natural pace. This eliminates unnecessary strain on the body and leads to healthy, consistent energy, which is one of the main roles of insulin production in the pancreas. In other words, while cookies, cakes, muffins, and soda pops give you a short burst of energy, spike your blood sugar, and later cause a crash, fruit with fiber intact will nourish your body and give you clean-burning, long-lasting energy. To put your mind at ease further, consider this. Inside a green smoothie, fruits are even less worrisome because they are paired with exponentially more elements that slow sugar assimilation. Fresh organic greens, which are a key ingredient in smoothies, are packed with nutrients and fiber, lots and lots of fiber. Most green smoothie recipes also call for water, and this further dilutes sugars within the smoothie. At my family's green smoothie retreats, there are always several guests who express concern over the amount of fruit that I put in my smoothies. My mom's generic green smoothie recipe calls for 40% greens and 60% fruit by volume, which to the untrained eye seems like a lot of fruit. I explained to retreat participants that I add more fruit to beginner smoothies because that makes them sweeter and easier to ingest. More often than not, my words go in one ear and come out the other, because we've all been taught to fear sugar, and it's not an easy thing to unlearn. Luckily, after a week of green drinks, retreat guests experience the positive effects firsthand and shift their views about sugar. I guess that's why they say, seeing is believing. If you're still undecided about the sugar thing, I urge you to keep an open mind, try it for a month, and then decide for yourself. If you do, I predict that you'll love how you feel, and you'll be thrilled with the results that this challenge produces. In 2013, I conducted a 6-week pilot study to see if regular consumption of green smoothies had any positive effect on active people. I rounded up 10 endurance athletes from my hometown and assembled a medical team to help me collect and interpret the gathered data. With cameras rolling, I put participants through extensive blood tests, oxidative stress tests, and rigorous endurance tests prior to the start of the study. Once the medical team collected all the baseline statistics, I began supplying my athletes with freshly made green smoothies. Every athlete received a quart jar of green smoothie daily, along with instructions to consume the entire portion in addition to his or her regular diet. In the interest of reducing as many variables as possible, my athletes all agreed not to deviate from their typical eating and workout schedules during the entire 6-week trial. After a month and a half of incorporating smoothies into their routines, my athletes underwent retesting using the same methods as at the beginning of the experiment. The end results proved extremely positive. Almost all of the participants saw an increase in their endurance and general health markers post-smoothies. One after the other, my runners and CrossFitters testified that green shakes gave them more energy, helped their muscles recover from workouts quicker, reduced cravings for unhealthy food, and even improved their mood. Analysis of athletes' pre- and post-smoothie blood work revealed more good news. Study participants showed improvement in the concentrations of vitamins and antioxidants in their bodies post-smoothies.
Green Smoothies!
Perhaps the most notable change my research team discovered was a significant reduction in C-reactive protein, or CRP. CRP is a test that measures protein particles in the blood. Protein particles are directly linked to levels of inflammation. The higher the CRP levels, the more inflammation is present in the body. 9 out of 10 of my competitors managed to reduce their C-reactive protein levels significantly by drinking green smoothies. The only participant who didn't see an improvement in his inflammatory markers eventually confessed to not living up to his end of the deal, i.e., not drinking his smoothies. I believe this reduction in inflammation explains precisely why the overwhelming majority of my runners and CrossFitters reported feeling lighter on their feet, having more energy, and experiencing faster recovery times post-workout. After conducting this pilot study, I am convinced more than ever before that green smoothies are immensely beneficial for everyone, especially people who are physically active. While green smoothies have been part of my routine for years, I found myself drinking them more regularly and consistently in the wake of this experiment. If you'd like to watch my movie, it's called Powered by Green Smoothies, and it's available at poweredbygreensmoothies.com. And recently I've made it available for free on YouTube. So go to YouTube, search Powered by Green Smoothies, and you should be able to find me. If you watch my film about athletes, don't forget to go to the website, poweredbygreensmoothies.com, and download the free ebook that's associated and paired with the film. In 2014, I created a slim version of the 30-day Green Smoothie Challenge and uploaded it to YouTube. Because I filmed the entire thing unscripted, I accidentally failed to mention the specifics of what a Green Smoothie Challenge entails. As a result, my subscribers flooded me with questions such as, what is the Green Smoothie Challenge? Or how do I begin? Am I to assume that I can't eat or drink anything but smoothies for an entire month? Now that I'm older and wiser, I'd like to elaborate on the specifics of the challenge. The main purpose of the 30-day Green Smoothie Challenge is to motivate you to take charge of your health in a very manageable fashion. I believe that anyone who completes this challenge will feel happier and healthier after a month of drinking green smoothies. The challenge is very simple and straightforward and requires very minimal effort. All you have to do is drink 1 quart or liter, if you're in Europe, of green smoothie every single day for a month. It's literally that easy. You make a smoothie, you blend it, you drink it, boom, day 1 done, and then you do that 29 more times. Just to clarify, the challenge does not require you to stop eating other food. Complete the challenge by adding a quart of fresh smoothie to your pre-existing normal diet. You don't even need to plan a far-off start date. You can just start. That's actually a very valuable strategy that I've learned over the years. Sometimes it's better to trick yourself. Instead of saying, I'm gonna start on Monday the 1st of the month, trick yourself and just wake up one morning and start making smoothies. And then when you do it one day, it'll be a little bit easier to make it the second day. And when you do it the second day, the third day is gonna be even easier. And guess what? On day 29, it's gonna be a routine. It's just gonna be part of what you do. In observing myself, I've found that perfection often kills willpower, progress, and motivation. Perfection is daunting and it's stressful. So do your best to allow imperfection. Go easy on yourself and start small. Begin by drinking 1 quart of green smoothie daily. Once you master this practice, then it's okay to go and change other sectors of your life, like incorporating a new exercise routine or drinking less coffee in the morning. But until you get that one habit dialed, it's a good idea to not strive for the unimaginable. Another question I get asked is how and when should I drink my smoothies to achieve the best results? I've found through conducting green smoothie retreats for over a decade that it makes little difference whether a person drinks his entire smoothies all at once in the morning or sips his smoothies continuously throughout the day. The results are extremely positive either way. So how you choose to drink your smoothie is completely up to you. One more thing. Many people think that because a smoothie is liquid, it's okay to just chug the whole jar and then go on with your day. This is by no means harmful, but it can have slightly negative side effects. It can lead to bloating, indigestion, or gas, which are all things that I like to avoid. So remember, it's easy. Just chew your smoothies. That's it. If you've been exploring green smoothies for a while, you've likely run into a negative article or two on the internet regarding green vegetables and alkaloid/oxalate content. Some bloggers love to scare people away from smoothie drinking by claiming that spinach and kale causes kidney stones. In this section, I'd like to elaborate on this matter, explain the logic behind the fear, and put your mind at ease. Greens are typically the most nutritious part of a plant, and thus animals naturally are drawn to eat them. In order to prevent their extinction, plants develop trace amounts of toxins in their leaves. This ensures that all creatures, humans and animals alike, move on to eat other plants while grazing, and prevents the extinction of any one species. While alkaloids and oxalates are poisonous, minuscule quantities such as those found in greens cannot hurt you. In fact, they actually strengthen your immune system. The science of homeopathy is based on this principle. However, if you consume kale, spinach, or any other green for many weeks on end without rotation, certain toxins can accumulate in your body to an unhealthy degree and eventually lead to mild alkaloid poisoning. And what this looks like is nausea, throwing up, and tingling in the fingers. Obviously, the goal of any true smoothie connoisseur is to avoid any and all negative side effects. Most greens contain different types of alkaloids and oxalates. By rotating the variety of greens you put into your smoothies, you will be able to easily avoid poisoning yourself and instead strengthen your immunity. You don't have to rotate fruits very often because fruits rarely contain alkaloids. In fact, nature intended for fruits to be eaten abundantly in order to spread their seed. That's why ripe fruit is sweet, aromatic, and bright in color. Rotating your greens doesn't have to be a chore. You can switch it up any way that's convenient for you. Some people choose to put one type of green in their smoothie every day, while others rotate greens on a weekly basis. I do both. So if I find a good deal on spinach, I often buy it in bulk and use only spinach for a week. But the next time that I go grocery shopping, I make it a point to use a different green. It's literally as simple as that. The larger assortment of greens that you consume, the broader the spectrum of vital nutrients your body receives. If you regularly alter the types of greens that go in the blender, alkaloid poisoning will be a non-issue to you completely, and you'll never have to think about it again. If you need further reassurance, consider this. You have a liver. Your liver was designed to strain toxins out of the body, and it does a fantastic job. So rest assured, your body will help you stay safe. In the interest of fairness, so as not to pick on greens alone, I'd also like to point out that many common foods also have trace amounts of toxins and should be eaten in moderation. The University of Chicago published an oxalate content guide for folks who are at risk of kidney stones. This document lists foods such as French toast, bagels, muffins, rice, chocolate, cake, potato chips, and burgers as very high in oxalate content. If you indulge in these foods regularly, it's a good idea to rotate them in the exact same way that you rotate greens in your blender container. Recently, I was curious exactly how many greens I could find at my local grocery store. I hopped on my bike and went down to Safeway. I chose a conventional grocery store over a health food store because I figured that most people around the world are going to live closer to one of these types of stores than a health food store, and thus my research would be more helpful to everybody. I walked down the produce aisles and collected 24 different greens that taste fantastic both in salads and smoothies. Here's the exact list of what I found. Spinach, purple kale, green kale, dinosaur kale, collard greens, mustard greens, turnip greens, green onions, baby bok choy, cabbage, beet greens, Swiss chard, green leaf lettuce, red leaf lettuce, romaine lettuce, butterhead lettuce, Italian parsley, cilantro, basil, dandelion greens, fennel greens, and wheatgrass. Keep in mind, had I visited more than one store, I'm confident that I would have come up with a wider variety of greens. As I mentioned in the previous section of this video, if you maintain a wide variety of different greens, alkaloid poisoning will be a non-issue. This right here is proof that at your conventional grocery store, you can have a wide variety of different ingredients to put in your smoothies. For those of you that want me to elaborate more on the 24 greens that I found at the grocery store, check out my YouTube video, 24 leafy greens that taste great in smoothies and salads. I'm not going to elaborate on it more in this video because we're going to get to the whole smoothie blending section, and there'll be tons of elaboration on different ingredients. In the early 2000s, my family and I participated in Toronto's Total Health Show. Now, if you're not familiar with the health show, all that you really need to know is that it's an event where all of the health food world showcases what it has. Supplements, nutritional products, health devices, everything and anything. And I was at this show with my parents, and we were representing our books. Over the course of the weekend, I met my neighbor to the left in another booth, and he was selling a liquid supplement, a drink that you drink to supplement your diet. I made the mistake of telling him that I don't believe in supplements, and that's when the conversation really took off. This guy made it his mission to convince me that supplements were absolutely necessary. He tried all sorts of fear tactics by telling me that, the food that I eat is depleted, there's no way that it could possibly meet all my nutritional needs. And then I argued with him, well, if food doesn't have enough nutrition in it, then how can the supplement that you want me to try that's made from the same ingredients, how could that possibly have all of what my body needs? Seemed like a legitimate question, but he wouldn't have it. Long story short, he made me a deal. He said, come over to my booth, I'll analyze your antioxidant levels, and if we find that they're low, you have to try my supplement. And I said, okay, fine, let's do it. So I walked over to his booth. He had some sort of laser that topically scanned the skin and analyzed it for antioxidants. And he started doing his tests on me, and then he stopped and had to recalibrate his machine. And then he stopped again and had to recalibrate his machine again. After recalibrating his machines and getting the same results repeatedly, he finally confessed that my antioxidant levels were literally off his chart. So he explained to me that most people, when they take the test, they place somewhere in the 15,000 to 20,000 unit range for antioxidants, and that my reading was in the 70,000 range, so substantially higher. He explained to me that the higher the concentration of antioxidants in your system, the better off you are, the healthier you are. So by his parameters, I was very healthy because his range literally went from 0 to 50,000 and I was at 70,000, so literally off the charts. He didn't stop there though. He recruited my mom and dad for the same exact tests. And lo and behold, my mom also placed off the charts, roughly in the 60,000 unit range, and my father placed higher than us all in the 80,000 unit range. I should really make a note here that I'm not familiar with the test that he was giving us. I don't know what the units are, but that's beside the point. Basically, what you need to know is that we were off the charts, all three of us, and mind you, we were taking no supplements. So at that point, his demeanor completely changed. All of a sudden, he was ready to listen. And he started asking me similar questions that he had been asking me the entire weekend, only this time he was taking notes. And my message to him was very simple. I eat lots of fruits and vegetables, I drink green smoothies regularly, I exercise, I drink water, and I don't take supplements. This is just one experience out of the countless similar experiences that I've had over the years. I'm not totally against everybody taking supplements, but in practice, I found that for me, they just haven't made any significant difference. And in fact, I've found that nothing can supplement a healthy diet. Amazing things happen to people who add green smoothies into their daily routines. The 30-day green smoothie challenge described in this film helped me achieve a superior level of health and a rock-solid immune system. This same challenge has helped others shed unwanted weight, allowing them to feel more energetic and light on their feet, while drastically reducing stomach bloating and inflammation throughout their bodies. It's led to regular, healthy bowel movements, eradicated depression, cured insomnia, promoted faster muscle recovery, and contributed to countless other positive changes. The premise of the entire challenge is based on the idea that fresh, organic, whole foods provides an overwhelmingly positive effect on the human body. Thus, by drinking smoothies, which are made from the good stuff, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, you are adding exponentially more nutrients in your diet and benefiting from it accordingly. If you follow the guidelines outlined in this challenge and drink homemade green smoothies for 30 consecutive days, I'm confident you will achieve your own fantastic, hard to believe it's true results. In an effort to help you be more successful in this venture, I'd like to offer 2 more pieces of advice. Number 1, be consistent in your smoothie intake. Once you start the 30-day challenge, make it a point to stay on track. I know this is difficult, and that's exactly why it's called a challenge. During the making of my documentary, Powered by Green Smoothies, I discovered that the hardcore benefits of green drinks don't really kick in until the 3rd week of intake. So if you want to reap as much reward from this experiment as possible, it's absolutely imperative that you drink your smoothies daily. The second piece of advice is this: write down all of your current health issues before you begin. Before you start mixing shakes, take a moment and make a list of every health issue you are experiencing, as well as a short summary of how you generally feel. Think of this list as a baseline measurement. It'll help you objectively see your progress at the end of the challenge. It doesn't matter how big or small your health issues may be, write them all down. For example, if you're generally a healthy person with no major health issues, your list might look like this: cracked heels, flaky fingernails, occasional trouble falling asleep, afternoon energy lulls, and cravings for sweets. You may also want to scribble down something like, I generally feel happy and well, but wake up with minor aches and pains in the mornings. Once the list is complete, put it in a safe place and forget about it for a month. After you complete the challenge, reference your list and you'll be wowed by how much progress you've made. Making smoothies doesn't require many kitchen tools. A blender is all you really need to get going. There are dozens of brands to choose from, but I prefer to blend all of my smoothies in a Vitamix blender because it's the only machine that produces creamy smoothies consistently. Fresh produce is fiber-rich and hard to pulverize. Blenders such as the Ninja, Magic Bullet, KitchenAid, and BlendTech don't live up to the promises that they make. Over the last 24 plus years, I've tried almost every blender on the market, and so far none have rivaled the Vitamix. Early on in my health eating journey, I devoted myself toward finding a low-cost option. One by one, I purchased every inexpensive blender that caught my eye. Unfortunately, I burned out the motors very quickly, sometimes within days of purchasing the machine. In the end, this experiment cost me more than an actual Vitamix. To save yourself money and time, I recommend purchasing a Vitamix from the get-go. It's true, Vitamix blenders have a greater price tag than most average department store blenders, but their cost comes with more horsepower, better engineering, much longer warranty periods, and fantastic customer service. Furthermore, these machines last forever. While I've purchased many Vitamixes over the years, my original blender still works perfectly despite its age. Check it out. After 2 decades of consistent use, my old blender still works. For more information about Vitamix, you can Google them or visit Vitamix.com. The recipes in this film are arranged in a manner that's designed to make the 30-day Green Smoothie Challenge as simple and painless as possible. While working on this project, I made an effort to balance produce freshness, ingredient variety, and shopping convenience as best as I could. To accommodate the greatest amount of people possible, I made sure that all of the challenge's recipes include ingredients that are readily available to everybody worldwide. If you drink smoothies for an entire month and decide that it's something that you like and want to continue, you can refer to the ebook, the 30-day Green Smoothie Challenge ebook, and find an additional bonus recipe chapter. And in that chapter, I use some slightly more exotic recipes and ingredients to give you a wider array of what's available. You can also just restart from the beginning. You can just jump from day 30 back to day 1 and just restart the challenge. And that way, if you don't want to buy the ebook, you don't have to. When you get to the shopping lists, you'll notice that they're separated into 5-day blocks. This is done methodically to ensure that all your produce is fresh and vibrant while minimizing the number of grocery store visits. Through much trial and error, I've learned that greens last roughly 5 days before they start getting funky. Hence the number 5. Because the challenge is 1 month long, expect to make 6 visits to the store in order to complete it. It's worth noting that I recommend using organic produce in smoothies whenever possible. That being said, eating organic is not always realistic. If your budget won't allow it, it's completely acceptable to do the entire challenge using conventional produce. You will benefit immensely regardless of what you choose. If money isn't a concern, you may still want to check out the conventional produce section on your trips to the grocery store to see which foods are ripe and ready. I often choose ripe, non-organic fruit over unripe organic fruit because it produces tastier results. This is a very important consideration because when my smoothies taste good, I drink them, and when they taste bad, I don't. A gross smoothie is a waste of time, money, energy, and doesn't benefit you in any way. Finally, don't be afraid to improvise. If you're the mischievous type who has trouble following recipes to the T, I invite you to experiment. After you make a few of my recipes and understand the flavor and consistency that I recommend, feel free to deviate from the script and create your own drinks. At the end of the day, it actually makes very little difference what exact ingredients you throw in the blender. If you use fresh fruit and leafy greens and make homemade smoothies, you will be rewarded for your efforts. Now we're going to move on to part 2, the actual blending. So that's it, that's all, and happy blending. Welcome to my kitchen. Now that we all know the basics of how to make a delicious smoothie, what a green smoothie is, what the challenge is, it's time to jump right in, start blending smoothies, and start benefiting from them. As we go along, I'm going to be throwing little tips at you, things that I've learned over the years in the health field, and hopefully this will make your job a lot easier, a lot more convenient, and a lot more enjoyable. Tip number 1 is this. Anytime I mention a bunch of greens in the recipes, just assume that I mean the biggest bunch that you can find in the store. So for example, if a recipe calls for 1 bunch of kale, that's Sergey speak for go find the most massive bunch in the entire store and buy that one. Another tip is this. I use fresh fruit and frozen fruit interchangeably in my smoothies. So some days I go to the store and I find that the mangoes are really ripe, I buy them fresh. Other times mangoes tend to be out of season, but they have frozen mangoes in the frozen food section, so I buy those. If you can't find fresh, use frozen. I already mentioned how sometimes frozen fruit is even riper than fresh fruit because they harvest that fruit ripe, freeze it, and then you benefit accordingly. Now the last thing that I want to note is that there are many different types of Vitamixes out there. We already discussed this a little bit. For this entire series, I'm going to use the Vitamix 2500 Ascent series. This is an awesome new model that they make. It has a nice digital dial. It also has some presets. So, you could go to the smoothie preset, turn it on, and it'll blend it for just the right amount of time for the entire thing to pulverize, which is a very handy feature. Okay, so I'm going to throw the greens in first, because that will ensure that they blend all the way. Once I have my greens in there, I'll do mango chunks because they're right there. Bananas, you definitely want to peel these things. One thing I love about the Vitamix is that because it's so powerful, you don't really have to chop things into tiny little chunks. You can throw them in largely whole or in big fat chunks. Like strawberries, you could do them whole. Now you may notice that I'm leaving the greens on the strawberry on. I'm doing that on purpose. I'm not lazy. This is called a green smoothie. We've already been over this. And what are the tops of strawberries? You got it, they're greens. So they have nutritional value. We leave those guys on. And last but not least, we got a pint of water. We pour it in and we blend. Once the smoothie is nice and smooth, we're going to carefully lift the lid. And we always want to try the smoothie first before we either drink it ourselves or serve it to somebody else, because if it doesn't taste good, nobody's going to drink it. And the whole point of benefiting from these smoothies is making sure that you get them every single day. So that's one of my rules. Always test the smoothie. It's absolutely delicious. What do you know? Okay, so these are my other favorite little thing. They're glass quart jars. And this one's made by Ball. There's other brands, but you know, quart jars are awesome. Glass isn't porous. It's not like plastic. It is a very clean vessel. So I just prefer whenever possible to keep my smoothies in glass, because that way I know that nothing bad, no chemicals, nothing is getting into my smoothies. They stay pure. If you're watching in Europe, this is basically a liter jar. Quart and liter, they're more or less the same thing. So as you can see, we made a little too much. That is okay to drink in addition to your quart. The more the merrier. Or you can share it with your kids, your loved ones, your friends. But this is essentially what I want you to do every single day for the next month. Drink one of these. It doesn't matter if you drink it all first thing in the morning or sip it continuously throughout the day. What matters is that every single day you put one of these in your system. Okay, so we made it through day one. Now let's tackle day two. In today's smoothie, we're going to be using green kale. And as I mentioned earlier, one tip for making smoothies taste absolutely divine is to take the really hard fibrous stems away from greens, because those can add bitterness to a smoothie and make them slightly less pleasant. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. We're going to de-stem the kale. And one of the easiest ways to do that is not with a knife, is just to take your fingers and wonk. Basically, you take that and you compost it. And you throw the rest in the blender. So it's like a little sliding action. You hold the stem pretty firm with one hand, and then grab with your other hand, slide up. I always blend my greens first, meaning I always throw them in the blender first, because I find that they don't blend as well if they sit on top of the fruit. So maybe that's a helpful tip too. Always throw your greens in first. Put your finger on the stem, just slide up. Easy peasy. So half a banana in the blender. Again, we have our pint of strawberries with the greens in the blender. And we also have a pear. This is new for the smoothie challenge for us. All of my pears and apples, I make sure to leave the seeds intact, because the seeds have micronutrients in them that are very beneficial to our health. They actually have things that explode cancer cells. So all of my seeds for pears and apples stay in. And last but not least, I have a pint of water. One thing all Vitamix owners should know is that the lid needs to be solid on the container. Because the Vitamix is so powerful, if the lid is not tightly secured, it's gonna blow right off and you're gonna have a smoothie explosion all over your ceiling. This has happened to me numerous times. It's never a fun cleanup, and that's why you should try and avoid it. So just give your lid an extra little tap and prevent mishap. Here we go, we blend. Here's another trick of the trade. If the smoothie doesn't start blending right away, shake it in the container, and that way you don't need to tamper. Once the smoothie looks smooth, it's ready to drink. But what is my first and most important rule? Always taste your smoothie and adjust accordingly so that it tastes good. Otherwise, you won't drink it. Tastes good, just like yesterday. So this is your mission for the day, should you choose to accept it. Drink this today for day 2 of the Green Smoothie Challenge. Cheers. Let's talk about greens for a second. So sometimes in my recipes I call for 1 bunch of spinach. Sometimes instead of that 1 bunch I use loose leaf baby spinach. Loose leaf baby spinach comes in bulk and is sold by the pound. 1 bunch of spinach, remember the biggest bunch that you can find, is roughly half a pound of baby greens. So if I say 1 bunch of spinach, feel free to use about half a pound of baby greens in your smoothie. Yes, I know that seems like a lot of greens, but that's the whole point. That's what makes every 32-ounce jar of green smoothie packed with vitamins, micronutrients, minerals, everything under the sun that's good for you. And that's what's gonna make this Green Smoothie Challenge work. So you are just literally cramming your diet with good stuff. And on that note, let's hop right in and make day 3 smoothie. As always, our greens go in first. We are gonna chop up our pear while leaving the seeds intact. Boom. Generally, when a recipe calls for cherries, I use frozen cherries because they're already pitted. Half a banana. You might notice that all of my bananas are very ripe. That's when they're most nutritious. And 1 pint of water. Now we blend. And by now you know my most important rule of all times. That is, yes, taste your smoothie first. Make sure it tastes delicious. And it does. So this is day 3. Wow, that's like a party in your mouth. That's delicious. Cheers. Day 4. Woo, woo, woo! Congratulations, you made it to day 4. In today's smoothie, we're going to utilize the other half of the green bunch of kale that we started with. We're also going to add a secret weapon to the green smoothie, and that is avocado. Avocado is the definition of creamy fruit. Like we discussed in part 1, if you want to make a delicious smoothie, you have to add both pulpy and creamy fruit, and this is going to make our smoothie extra creamy today. It's going to make it delicious. I don't have too much else to say about these ingredients because you pretty much know what all of them are already. So we're going to just jump right in and start de-stemming our kale. You can actually save these and juice them later if that's something that you do, or you can also chop them up and use them in soups. Once the kale has been destemmed, I'm going to throw my half banana in there. Strawberries with greens go next. Chop my pear up. The pear, interestingly enough, is kind of like in between creamy and pulpy fruit. It adds sweetness to the smoothie and it adds texture as well, so good for both of those. And now our avocado. So the easiest way to take the pit out is to just carefully jam the knife in the pit. And there you go. And we're gonna cut this in half. And just peel this ripe, delicious gift of nature straight in the blender. Clean up a little, and last but not least, we have our pint of water. And now we blend. So see, the kale, because it's curly, it doesn't like to compress down into the blades. So then you can use the weight of the fruit, shake it down, and it will blend. The other thing is, more often than not, I don't use any presets on the Vitamix. I just start on speed 1, turn it on, and then like a sports car, because this is essentially what a Vitamix is, it's my Ferrari. Once I start in first gear, it's okay to crank it up and go up to 10. But you never want to start in 10 and crank it up because that'll wear the motor down. So start in 1 and then crank it up. Alright, what did we get? Creamy goodness? I think so. Oh. If you have somebody in your household that doesn't like greens, maybe this should be the smoothie that you start with because it's absolutely divine. It's better than ice cream. Maybe. It's definitely more healthier than ice cream. There you go. Smoothie 4 is done. Enjoy. Dear friends, you're amazing. If you've made it this far, you made it 5 whole days. Virtual high five. Yeah. In today's smoothie, we are actually going to use a fresh mango. We're going to get away from the frozen, and we're going to learn how to cut a mango. If you look at a ripe mango, this one's slightly unripe. It can definitely be riper, but that's all I could get up here in Washington. So if you look at it, you'll see that it has cheeks. There are wider ends and there are narrow ends. You're going to find the 2 cheeks of the mango, and you're going to cut along the flat pit. So as you can see, the pit inside the mango is flat. It's not round, it's flat. So your job is to find where one of those flat sides is, and that's why this is called the cheek, because you literally kind of fillet it like a cheek. And then you can do that on the other side as well. Find the cheek, and you cut along the pit. And then just to maximize your mango purchase, you can kind of skirt around the pit. So this is what a mango pit looks like right there. And we have in effect just cut around it. So that you compost. This you use in smoothies. And one of the easiest ways to get that into the blender container is to very carefully put notches in it. You don't want to go too deep, otherwise you're going to have notches in your hand. And that's no bueno. And then once you have that, boom, there you go. And you can cut those straight into the blender. So you can take your knife and fillet the rest of the mango chunks straight in. I want to show you one other method. This is more the kid-friendly version. So you just take a teaspoon and you just scoop right into the mango and you scoop around it. And it's like scooping ice cream, but instead you're scooping a mango. And voila, it's pretty clean. These I tend not to blend because they're perfect bite-sized pieces, and I enjoy those later on as like a little thank you treat for making smoothie and being good on this day. So we'll save those. We have our mango in the blender. We're gonna throw our greens. We didn't do our greens first today, but that's because I got wrapped up in the mango demonstration. So greens go next. Let's throw our cherries on top. Pitted cherries, of course. Half an avocado from earlier this week. And a pear with the seeds intact. Look at how beautiful that is. I mean, how gorgeous is this? This is proof that the Green Smoothie Challenge works. All of that goodness is going straight into your body, and it's just repairing anything that needs to be repaired. Anything that's out of whack will get fixed with this. 1 pint of water. And we blend. And this delicious puppy is the 5th day of the Green Smoothie Challenge. So this completes the first block of recipes. There's 6 in total because every 5 days I send you to the grocery store to get fresh ingredients. As you are well aware, fresh fruits and greens, they don't last very long. And to maintain their freshness, instead of going to the store twice in the entire month, I send you to the store every 5 days. So grab your list of the next block's ingredients, and I'll catch you on the other side. Dear Green Smoothie enthusiasts, it's day 6 of the 30-day Green Smoothie Challenge. You guys are rocking it. I'm very proud that you've made it thus far. Today we're going to be building a smoothie with Swiss chard and basil. Our green of the day is going to be definitely the basil. Now anytime I throw basil in a smoothie, I like to call it basil bombing the smoothie. Some people would never think to put basil in their smoothie. You absolutely should think of that because it's delicious, divine. It's a flavor explosion. So basil stems do not need to be detached because they are not bitter. They're also pretty soft, so the texture is going to be pleasant. The same goes with Swiss chard. You can throw these stems apart, but unlike kale stems, they don't really have that bitter flavor, so I tend to just keep them on. Greens go in first. We are going to use half a banana in our smoothie. We're also going to use half an apple. Where'd my knife go? Here's another knife. Okay, so I can cut this apple in half, but that wouldn't be any fun. Instead, let's try and rip it in half. Here's a little party trick for you. If you find the 2 tallest points of the apple, and you take your thumbs and press them on those 2 tallest points, kind of on top. If you squeeze and kind of pull in a V shape, you can rip the apple in half. Check it out. Boom, just like that. So now it's easy to share your apple with your friend. You're like, hey, want half an apple? And everybody usually goes wild. Now, what do you do if there's 4 friends and you want to share the apple? You tear the apple in quarters, just like that. Haha. But we're making a smoothie. I'm getting sidetracked here. In today's smoothie, I'm only going to use half an apple. We also have some red grapes. I'm going to take those off the stem. These will add sweetness to our smoothie. You can use green grapes if you prefer, but generally red grapes are going to add more sweetness, and that's what we're going for. And last but not least, we are going to add an orange minus the peel. Now by now you've been doing this about 6 days, and more than likely people are starting to notice. Maybe your kids, maybe your friends, maybe your husband or boyfriend or girlfriend. If they show interest and want to do the challenge with you, I highly recommend that you take them up on it, because if you do, you'll form a support group with them. It'll create additional accountability for you, and you'll be much more likely to succeed. It's like going to the gym. I don't always feel like going to the gym, and I know this about myself, so now I have a couple gym friends, and we keep each other accountable. I call my buddy up, I say, you want to go work out? And maybe neither of us want to go work out, but because we know the other person is coming, we get our butts out of the seat that we're sitting in and go straight to the gym, and it works. So same goes for the smoothie challenge. Grab your kids, start making smoothies with them, and it'll help you to succeed. In goes the orange. 1 pint of water, like always. And we blend. And just like that, the day 6 smoothie is complete. Cheers. Congratulations, you've made it 1 week. You're basically a quarter of the way done. I bow down to you. You rock. In today's smoothie, we're gonna mix it up a little bit more. Mix it up. We're gonna use some wild dandelion greens. Now, I'll confess, these aren't wild. I bought them at the store, which is kind of like breaking my own rule because I'm a wild edible guy. I have lots of videos and resources on wild edibles. I have a book called Wild Edibles. Check that out on Amazon or wherever you get your books. I love wild greens because, in my opinion, wild is even better than organic. Wild greens haven't been tampered with by humans. They are as nature intended. So these dandelion greens are essentially the origins of lettuce. Thousands of years ago, before we had green leaf lettuce and red leaf lettuce, there were dandelions, and they're like the great 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 grandfather of lettuce. And they exist today as they did and as they were intended to exist. Wild edibles have longer root systems than even organic plants. They're able to go down with their roots below depleted topsoils and draw out more vital nutrients and minerals. And so it's a good idea to eat more wild greens. It's a good idea to put those wild greens into your smoothies because most of us aren't accustomed to eating wild foods and they may not taste good to us, but we can trick ourselves by blending them with fresh fruits and vegetables. So I bought these at the store. I bought them at a health food store. But what I really should have done is I should have gone into my backyard and picked them because I know that my backyard hasn't been sprayed with pesticides and chemicals. I know that the wild dandelion greens there are free, but alas, it was convenient at the time, so I just bought them, so bad Sergey. Half a bunch of dandelion greens go in our smoothie. I'm going to give them a little light chop because they're pretty long. And also, I'm not going to get rid of the stems because they're pretty soft. So everything goes in. Now, dandelion greens are quite bitter. So if you want to eat them, at first you might not be accustomed to the bitterness, and you're going to have to conceal it. How do you conceal the bitterness of dandelions? Green smoothie. That's way number 1. If you blend bitter greens with fruits, the sweetness of the fruits counterbalances the bitterness. The other way to conceal this is to make a dandelion pesto. So as you would make a pesto with basil, do the same thing, except instead of the basil, or in addition to the basil, add some dandelion greens. And when you blend dandelion greens with any sort of fat, whether it be pine nuts or olive oil or Parmesan cheese, the bitterness balances out and it becomes almost non-existent. Bitter flavors are essential for our digestive organs, for our liver, our pancreas, that kind of thing. So it's very important that we get them in our system, which is precisely why this smoothie is going to benefit us that much more. We have a little thumb piece, actually it's like more of like a pinky sized piece of ginger. That goes in. We're going to have a whole banana in there today. I chose to use a pint of frozen blueberries. In they go. And we're going to use a whole apple. And we're going to try and rip it in half again, just so I can test my luck. I call this gorilla strength. Ooh, that one's a hard one. If you really want to learn how to rip apples in half, pick soft apples like Gala's. This is a Fuji. It's like a very expert level ripping apple. So the softer the apple, the easier it will be to rip. Ooh. Not so good this time. In goes the apple with the seeds and a pint of water. And we blend. This is a purple smoothie. So the pigment of blueberries, the blue pigment, is stronger than the pigment of green. That's why even though we use greens, it's bluish purple. Same thing happens to trees in the fall. The green pigment of the leaves burns out and we're left with oranges, yellows, and reds. So day 7, here we go. Day 8 is upon us. In today's smoothie, we are going to have dandelion greens, the second half of the bunch that we used yesterday. We're going to use strawberries, mangoes, and orange. Pretty straightforward, pretty basic, but oh so delicious. So as with yesterday's smoothie, we're going to chop up the dandelions a little bit. Those go in the blender. Strawberries go in, as do the mangoes. Notice we're not using banana today. We're going to take a break from banana. Bananas are kind of a staple ingredient, but every once in a while I get tired of them and I replace them with other things. In today's smoothie, the mango is going to be making the creaminess in the smoothie. And an orange peeled. Once the orange is peeled, go ahead and throw it in the blender. Give it a nice press. 1 pint of water. And we blend. Let's give it a little shuffle just in case. That's how we do it. Now remember, just because this is a smoothie doesn't mean you need to gulp it down. Remember to chew your liquids, masticate your food, because digestion starts in the mouth. Day 8. Good luck. This is day 9, and today in our smoothie, as our base green, we're going to use romaine lettuce. Believe it or not, romaine lettuce tastes great in green smoothies. It's got a lot of water content, it's got some natural sodium. Both of these are very good for our joints. So if you have any sort of joint pains, if you have creaky knees, this smoothie is going to be especially good for you. Romaine lettuce is very soft. Therefore we don't have to do anything to it, we don't have to cut anything off. We also have basil. We're gonna basil bomb this smoothie. The entire half bunch goes in. We're gonna take our grapes off the stem. Throw our blueberries in. Half an apple. And 1 pint of water. You gotta admit, it's really simple, both to make the smoothie and the cleanup. Unlike making juice, which takes like lots of different pieces to put together and then lots of different pieces to wash, this is easily 10 times faster than making juice. This is just basically standard practice at this point, giving your smoothies a shake. I generally blend my smoothies for minimum 30 seconds. Depending on the type of blender you have at home, you may have to go as high as 2 minutes, but basically just blend them until they're smooth. Cheers, you guys. My dears, we're at day 10. We're 1/3 of the way through the challenge. How do you feel? Do you feel any different? Are smoothies becoming part of your routine? Interesting to notice, isn't it? In today's smoothie, I'm gonna mix things up a little bit. I'm gonna use frozen strawberries instead of fresh, because once again, fresh and frozen fruit are interchangeable in my smoothies. I'm also gonna use the second half of the Swiss chard bunch from earlier in the week. All right, here we go. Chard goes in the smoothie. Stems and all. Followed by the strawberries. Boom. Frozen blueberries are next. Mango chunks. And 1 whole apple. This time I didn't rip it in half, as you can see. I did it the old-fashioned way with a knife. And water. Once again, colors are amazing. I want that in my body and I want it now. And we blend. Smells delicious. Oh, where's my jar? It's over here. Give yourself a big hug. 10 days is nothing to be shy about. 10 days is huge. And cheers. Day 11 is upon us, and today we're going to make somewhat of a non-traditional smoothie. We're going to use some sunflower sprouts as our greens, as well as some wheatgrass. And then some of the more common ingredients will include raspberries, apple, banana, and a pineapple. If you don't know what these are, I'd like to introduce you to the sunflower sprout. This is a very nutritious little green, and it's essentially the first start when a sunflower seed sprouts. So eventually this will turn into a big sunflower. But for now, it's a very nutritious, very delicious sunflower sprout. These are very delicious in salads, so you can just throw them in addition to whatever else you put in. They're also pretty good in smoothies. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to throw a handful of sunflower sprouts into the blender. Next we have wheatgrass. Everybody should know what wheatgrass is. The grandmother of the health food movement, Ann Wigmore, really popularized this stuff for its health benefits. Wheatgrass is full of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is very good for our bodies. We already talked about that in part 1 of the video. Unfortunately, I hate the taste of wheatgrass. It just makes me want to puke. But it's still good for me. luckily I found a trick. Because when you blend wheatgrass with pineapple, it completely disarms the taste. So, this is why you watch this video, for the little tricks. The easiest way to get wheatgrass from there to there is with scissors. And this is very gratifying. You can just take scissors and literally give it a haircut. And once you have a nice little handful, you just throw it in the blender. Smells like a lawn. The things we do for health, right? Don't throw this guy away because it will grow another length and you can use that in your smoothies, or better yet, if you have a kitty or a dog, set that near their doggy dish and let them get some nutrition from the wheatgrass stems. So now we have some fresh raspberries. Those go straight into the blender. We have half a banana. In you go. Half an apple. So how do we tell if a pineapple is ripe? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to smell it. And if it smells, not really even if it smells, if it makes you salivate, that's a good indication that it's pretty close to being ripe. The other thing we can do is we can tug on the leaves, and if they pop out easily, that's another indication that it's ripe. Boom. Here in North America on the mainland, pineapples obviously don't grow, so I have to make do with store-bought ones that aren't totally ripe. If you live in Latin America or are planning to travel there, make sure you try a pineapple because it's a completely different fruit. Alright, so now we're going to twist off the top. That goes in your compost, or you could regrow a pineapple from this. This is the seed. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cut off both ends. And then we're just going to start slowly peeling it around the sides. This is perhaps the easiest way to peel a pineapple. That goes into the compost. And then for this smoothie, since this is a pretty big pineapple, I'm only going to use 1/4 of it. If you have a smaller pineapple, feel free to use more. And then some people cut out the middle because it's kind of a fibrous part. I specifically leave it in for that reason. Part of the benefit of a green smoothie is that the fiber is intact. You're not getting rid of it. You're letting it do its job in your body. Clean it out like a sponge. So I leave all the fibrous bits intact. Throw the entire pineapple in the container. And as a result, I benefit immensely. Then we have our water. And now we blend. Make sure that lid is on tight. Remember, you don't want smoothie all over your ceiling. I actually did this to myself once right as I was going into a class. I had a class of about 100 people in New Zealand, and I was multitasking, and as I went to reach for something, I just accidentally flipped the switch. The lid was completely off. The smoothie shot up, came down on me. I didn't have a spare set of clothes, so I had to do the entire class in a robe of green. It's a good story now, though. I'm going to engage my sense of smell, and it doesn't smell like wheatgrass, which means I did my job correctly. Woohoo! Let's see if it passes my taste test. 0 wheatgrass. In fact, this is one of the best smoothies I've made yet. Okay, so this next smoothie is more of a pudding, and as such, we're going to use some even more non-traditional ingredients. This smoothie calls for a young coconut, which is this guy. Young coconuts aren't available everywhere. Typically they're sold in specialty stores, health food stores, or Asian markets. They're going to be the cheapest at Asian markets. And they're called young coconuts because they're not old. They're adolescent coconuts, if you will. So this guy is going to be very old, the meat will be hard, the water won't be very sweet. On the other hand, this young coconut, or Thai coconut as it's sometimes called, is going to have very kind of jelly-like meat, and the water is going to be very sweet. If you can't find either of those for this smoothie, feel free to use coconut cream. And you know, it's just basically organic coconut in a can. So here are your three options. I prefer this one will do, and as will this. Now I realize that not everybody is going to have access to exotic ingredients like that. And so before we begin, I just want to mention that if you don't have access to exotic ingredients, it's okay to improvise. At the end of the day, it makes no difference what goes into your green smoothie as long as it's fresh fruits and fresh greens. Anything that you put in the blender that's of that specification is going to benefit you immensely. The recipes that I'm showing you are simply just a way for me to show you what's available. You know, one day you can make a coconut pudding, the next day you can make a wheatgrass smoothie, etc., etc. Alright, so let's hop right in and make this green coconut pudding. We're going to throw the spinach in our blender first, get it out of the way. In fact, actually we'll throw in all of the ingredients. That'll give us some room to work with the coconut. We're going to use 2 bananas. Remember, this is a pudding. So this is more of a reward smoothie for you because you've been doing it for 12 whole days. And you're a green smoothie rock star. Yes, you are. When you use dates, make sure that you pit them. You don't want the pits in your brand new awesome Vitamix. Though the Vitamix will pulverize them, it's still not recommended. Alright, so what the heck do we do with this thing and how do we break into it? Okay, so in nature, when you find a coconut growing on a palm tree, it's got a big green husk around it. And so then with machines, they carve that green husk away, and what is left is the inner husk, which is white. So our job here is to get down to the meat and to the water. And the easiest way to do that is with a knife. So you find the point of the coconut, and you just start shaving away some of this husk. The objective here is to get down to the hard shell. And you can even trim some of this around that. It's easy if you have a sharp knife. The husk cuts pretty smoothly, I would say. Okay, so now we see that there is this emerging hard shell. Because this is a young coconut, the shell is not going to be that hard actually. It's not yet developed into the fully woody shell. Here's the somewhat tricky part. You're going to take the end of your knife and you're going to just stab it in, make an incision. And now is another gratifying part. You're basically going to shove the knife in and twist. Boom. And that's how you get into a coconut. So then you have your blender handy. Dump the water in. Grab a teaspoon and just start scooping away and cleaning. Cleaning the, what did I do with that thing just now? So see, I just basically scooped the meat off the husk on the inside. And then you can do the same thing over here. Boom. And you want to clean it out nicely, because you don't want to waste any of this meat. It's very delicious. This one's really making me work for it. Luckily, I know the smoothie's delicious and I don't mind. Alright, so more or less, let's do more than less actually. Coconut's been scraped down. And now we blend. Woohoo! And now we have green coconut pudding. That you can even eat with a spoon. Alright, see you later. I gotta enjoy this. Welcome to day 13. In today's smoothie, we are going to use this little guy. This is called fennel greens. This is the fennel bulb. It kind of tastes like licorice, like black licorice. So some people will automatically go, ooh, I don't like that, but don't knock it till you try it. We're going to use just the greens in the smoothie. This you can use in a salad later on. It's quite nice in salad. So chop the greens. In they go. We're also going to do some pineapple because we had some left over. Boom. I'm making room to cut the kale. So then we do raspberries. And now we're going to de-stem the kale. And dinosaur kale is slightly more annoying to de-stem than green kale. But it's actually still pretty easy to not do it with a knife. Just basically pull along the stem and it comes right off. We're going to do a whole banana. And we're going to do 5 pitted dates. 1, 2, 3 and a half, 4, and 5. 1 pint of water. And the rest is history. And give it a shuffle. And see what happens. Those raspberries make a green smoothie smell so good. Down the hatch. It's like magic. Holy moly. It's a good smoothie. This is day 14 of the 30-day green smoothie challenge. And for this smoothie, instead of basil bombing it, we're going to do the same thing with parsley. We're going to parsley bomb it. So throw your half bunch of parsley in the blender. Strip the dinosaur kale off the stems. We've really found a groove. We're moving and shaking. 2 weeks on smoothies. That's a big deal. Ask yourself, are you starting to feel any positive effect? Because around 2 weeks in, you should start noticing some things. Better bowel movement, easier time falling asleep at night, maybe some weight loss, an even mood, less cravings for sweet things. Any of those ring a bell? Then we have some frozen blueberries. In they go. We're going to do an entire apple. 1 banana, 2 banana, 3 banana, 4. And we're going to do half a lemon with the peel. Now the tricky thing about lemons is that the seeds will make an entire container of smoothie bitter, but the peel will give it zest. So you want to plop out all of the seeds and just do the lemon and the peel. So the entire lemon with its peel minus the seeds and water. Now we blend. And just like that, smoothie number 14 is done. And it's purple. The next challenge will be called the 30-day purple smoothie challenge. Are you with me? Would you do it? Well, let's finish this challenge first, right? Another winner right here. Cheers, you guys. What up, you guys? This is day 15. You are officially halfway through the entire challenge. Whoop, whoop, whoop. In today's smoothie, we have more greens and fruit, as I'm sure you can already imagine. So let's throw it in, make our quart, and get on with our day. In go the greens. Parsley goes in, stems and all. We're gonna throw our pineapple in next. Lemon with peel, minus the seeds. In my repetition, my hope is that these lessons that I'm teaching you really stick. They become second nature. And then when you go to make your 15th smoothie, you'll all of a sudden feel like, wow, I really know what I'm doing. If that happens, I win. My job is done. Half an apple with seeds. And 1 banana to finish it off. And I almost forgot, water. Oops. Now this is a true green smoothie. Look at that color. That's pretty green. On this day, I salute you because you're halfway through. That's a huge achievement. Day 16 is upon us, and today I want to introduce you to the beet green. Now, if you're lucky, you go to the store and you buy beets and they come with beet greens attached. However, most of us don't know that we're that lucky, because beet greens contain the vast amount of nutrients. If you have to choose between beet greens and beets themselves, these are much more nutritious. So most of us bring these home, we cut the beet greens off and chuck them, and then we use the beets for whatever recipe. We should actually use these in smoothies, which is exactly what we're gonna do today. So in today's smoothie, we're gonna use beet greens for our green. We are not gonna put beets in our smoothie because in my experience, root vegetables and fruits don't combine very well. They sometimes give you a little gas. So we want not to upset our stomach, and thus I recommend using these in a salad, in a soup, make a borscht somewhere if you will, if you wanna be stereotypical Russian. You make a beet soup called borscht. So beet greens in the blender. Here we go. Whoop. Beet greens are also like Swiss chard, so their stems are pretty tender. They're not bitter at all, so you can throw the entire greens into the blender. We have 1 pear. with the seeds, half a banana, half an apple or one small apple. This is a small apple, so I'm gonna use that. You can hear my kitty in the background. And you could either do a pitted fresh peach, or here I have frozen peaches. So I'll throw those in. And 1 pint of water. Here we go. And this is a red smoothie. How pretty is that? It's day 17, and today we're gonna mint bomb our green smoothie. So thus far we've used basil. We've basil bombed a smoothie. We've parsley bombed a smoothie. Today we're gonna mint bomb it. So half a bunch of mint goes in the blender. We also have the other half of our bunch of beet greens. Those pop in here. I'm gonna throw in some mango chunks. And this thing is a papaya. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna de-seed it with the knife very carefully. And we're also going to peel the skin off. Now unfortunately this papaya isn't the ripest. Ideally you want a bright orange, but I live in the Northwest and sometimes you just can't find a tropical papaya in the Northwest that's ripe, so we have to make do how we can. Regardless, it'll still taste good, I'm sure of that. So, pit the other side. Mind you, this is only a small part of a bigger papaya, so the entire papaya was probably like that big. So when you buy one of those, you have enough for multiple smoothies. Into the blender it goes. We add our water. And we blend. Smells like mint. Okay, let's see if you still remember. What's Sergey's rule number 1? The most important rule about smoothies before you share it with people or drink it yourself? Wow, that's actually really nice. So you always want to make sure, again and again and again, that your product tastes good. Because if it doesn't taste good, you won't drink it, neither will other people, and it will give green smoothies as a whole a bad rap. You want your smoothies phenomenal, better than ice cream. That way when you give your smoothie to somebody else, you excite them about smoothies as a whole, and you help them to be healthier. So. Dear smoothie drinkers, day 18 is upon us. Today we're going to be using purple kale again, so you know the drill. We got to de-stem it, because kale stems are slightly bitter. While I do that, I want to talk about the importance of ripe fruit. Now a few days ago you saw that my papaya wasn't as ripe as possible, and I just want to remind you that whenever possible you want to get fruit that's absolutely at its peak. How do you know if fruit is at its peak? Well, eventually you'll learn through trial and error, but the better way to learn, the more cost-effective way, is to befriend your local produce manager. When I go to the store, I always ask to talk to the general produce manager, and I introduce myself, I'm very polite, and start developing a rapport with him and asking him or her to show me around the produce section, asking specific questions about fruit. If they're a good produce manager, they'll get excited about your questions and start divulging all kinds of trade secrets, like, you know, the perfect peach has to look and feel like this, the perfect melon has to smell like that. So, long story short, make friends when you go to the store. Make friends in the produce aisle, and you'll benefit from it. Both in friendship as well as in red produce. Okay, so once the kale is done, we're gonna throw our other green in, mint, with the stems. Frozen cherries with no pits. 1 small apple, or half a normal apple, with seeds, half a pear, peaches, and water. Wham bam boom. Let's go. And just like that, we have another delicious smoothie. All right, get after it. Make your smoothie today. Go. Welcome back. This is day 19. Today we're working again with purple kale, papaya, strawberries, and some of the usual favorites. Step 1, destem the kale. Vunk. We're going to use a small apple, or half a large one, with the seeds intact. Half a banana. Some strawberries with their greens. Some cherries with no pits. And once again, the papaya needs to be processed, so take the seeds out. And just kind of scrape them out like that. The seeds of papaya are pretty peppery. The seeds of papaya are pretty peppery. It's kind of a funny sentence. If the seeds make it into the smoothie, you'll definitely be able to taste them. Ultimately, I guess that's not that big of a deal, but you know, it's a little bit better without them. Papaya seeds are pretty peppery. Say that 10 times fast. Papaya seeds are pretty peppery. And this is where everybody found out that on day 19, Sergey went nuts. And then on day 20, he got fully healed. And then one for yourself. Pretty good. Blend that up. Looks and smells so good. Okay, there you go. Go make a smoothie right now. Go do it. Today is day 20 of the Green Smoothie Challenge. 10 more days to go after this. Today we're going to introduce you to collard greens, as well as some tangerines. So collard greens also have a stem that's relatively bitter and may cause some gas because it's kind of starchy. So you're going to want to pull the greens off the stem. Now, unlike kale, where it easily comes off, it's actually a little bit easier just to slice it off. So, you know, you could just run your knife along the stem, and it's that easy. So we'll process the collard greens first. Also, little side note here, these make perfect green tortillas. So you can actually wrap stuff into this like a burrito. And a good thing to do there is to come over here and just kind of trim off a little bit of the stem. Because when you do that, it makes the leaf more malleable and it rolls better. So sometimes I make wraps at my house, And these make the best tortillas, in my humble opinion. But that's a different story, a different video. For now, we're making a smoothie. And you know what? Let's throw the fruit in first and give ourselves some room to work. Strawberries with greens. Also, we have some tangerines. I'm gonna peel those. I suppose you could throw them in with the peel if you want a little zest. After over 25, 26 years of working with produce, I'm pretty good at peeling citrus. And some of my friends are in awe of that. They're like, man, how do you peel oranges so good? It's simple, practice. So that was an apple that I just cut in there. We have a whole banana. And will you look at that, now we have room to work. Awesome. Funk, funk. By the way, when I throw stuff in my sink, that's kind of like my temporary compost. I later process those scraps and either make soups or salads out of them, or just take them in the back and throw them in the garden, because that's not wasteful. That's actually creating soil to help me grow more greens in the spring and summer. In go the greens. Next we have water. And we blend. Done. Just like that. Now that you know, go and make your smoothie. Cheers. Green Smoothie Hustlers. At this point, you're 3 weeks into the challenge. Wha-bam, wha-bam, wha-bam. Those are virtual high fives for you. Keep going. You're rocking it. I'm very proud of you. Because this is kind of a special day, it's a benchmark, 3 weeks, I wanted to throw something a little different at you. Today I'm going to show you how to make a savory green smoothie. Now, a savory green smoothie is exactly what it sounds like. It's essentially like a green smoothie that's not sweet. Because every once in a while, I get tired of sweet, 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 and my palate wants something different. And so I just blend up non-sweet fruit, like tomatoes and avocados, with greens, and I make a smoothie that's more of like an energy soup. So in a way, this is my tribute to Anne Wigmore. If you don't know who she is, look her up. She's an awesome lady. I have to say that not everybody likes savory smoothies. Some people love them, some people hate them, some people are somewhere in between. That's the most broad statement that I've made so far in this video. Regardless, it's my job to educate you about them and show you that they exist. And without further ado, I introduce you to the first savory smoothie. Today I'm going to use some watercress. This is a green that you can find growing in the wild. It grows near streams. Or you can buy it at specialty markets like health food stores. It has a very peppery taste. That's why it's not ideal to add it to a sweet smoothie, but it makes it a perfect candidate to throw in a savory smoothie. So, one small bunch of watercress. We have some green leaf lettuce. That goes in the blender. A few cloves of garlic. Now, because I own a Vitamix, and the Vitamix just pulverizes everything, I leave garlic skins on. I do this methodically because in garlic skins, there's micronutrients that make our hair shiny and our nails strong. So, wha-bam. I also have 1 tomato, avocado, remember the pit trick? And then we cut it similar to the mango. And we grab a spoon and just scoop it right in. Some people like lemon juice a lot, some people don't. I like a little lemon juice. So Use it appropriately. If you like sour food, by all means add more lemon. And then water and blend. Oop. Okay, now check it out. Because this is somewhat like a soup, I tend to underblend my savory smoothies because I like to eat them with a spoon like a soup. And then the other thing I do is I chop up some avocado chunks in here and maybe sprinkle a little minced onion in there, or use some seaweed, you know, whatever, to make it taste good. And this makes for a pretty good lunch, or an addition to a lunch, so give that a try. Day 21, savory smoothie. You could also drink it straight, just like every other smoothie. What's up, you guys? It's day 22 of the 30-day Green Smoothie Challenge. I have a confession to make. I was not able to find fresh apricots. I went to every store that I could find, every store in Tacoma, Washington, and they just simply didn't have apricots. So you know what? We're improvising. But it's okay because these things happen, and it's also kind of a lesson to all of us, myself included. So these are dried apricots that I've soaked in some water, and we're gonna use them just like dates in this smoothie. And now you know, and I know, that you can use dried apricots as well as fresh apricots when making this recipe. I'm gonna throw in 5 or 6 apricots. Now you wanna make sure they don't have pits in them. Maybe 7 or 8. Blackberries, fresh. The Northwest is really good for blackberries. Blackberries, raspberries, that kind of thing. So half a pear, and then we have some red grapes that we're gonna de-stem. And in they go. And water. Let's see what we made. What do you know? I like it. This recipe is definitely staying in the video. What do we have here? What do we have here? Oh, I didn't see you there. Today is day 23 of the 30-day Green Smoothie Challenge, and today we are gonna cilantro bomb our smoothie. So we've done this with other herbs, but we've never done it with cilantro yet. And I have to give my girlfriend Kylie credit on this one because never in a million years would I have tried it. And then she put cilantro in one of our smoothies, and it actually tasted really good. So Kylie, if you're watching, thank you. In goes the cilantro, in go the baby greens. Every last one of them. We have our pineapple chunks, strawberries with the greens attached. Are you guys like, we get it, you never throw the greens off the strawberries yet? I'm gonna keep saying it because this is my video and I can do what I want. And then we have water. And we blend. And just like that, we're done. Go make yourself a smoothie with that bunch of cilantro. Do it. Go. Cheers. Today I feel like hopping straight to the point. This is day 24 of the 30-day Green Smoothie Challenge. Let's do this. Green leaf lettuce, use your gorilla strength. Rip it in half. Throw it in the blender. De-stem those grapes. Straight in they go. We have blackberries. There's about 200 ways that you can put an avocado in a blender. I've shown you 2. The other 190, 198 are up to you to find. Half an avocado. 1 pear. Well, bam. And you blend. Green leaf lettuce in a smoothie. Who knew? 10 years ago when my mom started talking about blending greens in a smoothie, people were looking at her like she was nuts. And now, all this time later, you can basically get a green smoothie at Starbucks. I think that's pretty crazy. Day 25. We are 5 days from the end of this thing. Or are we? We'll see. We gotta get there. In today's smoothie, I'm gonna be using some rainbow chard, some cilantro. The recipe again calls for fresh apricots, which, as you know, I was not able to find. So I have these dried apricots that I reconstituted in water. They do not have pits. Those go straight to the blender. Rainbow chard goes next. We have our mangoes. We have our banana. We have water. We have liftoff. Boy, oh boy, do I like this color. Look, this is like a good, great green smoothie. Cheers. Day 26 is upon us, and today we're going to make our second savory green smoothie. So if you hated the last one, I'm sorry, and if you loved the last one, you're welcome. Just like with the beets, sometimes if we're very, very lucky, we go to the store, and our carrots come with carrot greens. Carrot greens are also very nutritious, and they're a great green for savory green smoothies. So what you're going to do is you're going to twist them off. You're going to use these in something else, a salad, a soup, a stew, whatever. Not a green smoothie, but you will blend the greens in a savory smoothie. Boom, those go in. Next we have dill. In you go. 1 large tomato. Green onions, they're also greens. Hence, they go into a green smoothie. Just cut the roots off, give them a chop, and lemon to taste. Some people like more, some people like less. Water to help it all blend. And go time. I almost forgot, avocado. We need to make it creamy, right? Otherwise it's just kind of, the texture and the consistency isn't right. So we throw avocado in the mix. Let's do half an avocado. And you have another good savory smoothie. Now one thing I can't remember if I mentioned with the first smoothie is if you have a favorite sea vegetable, be that dulse or kelp or sea palm, you can sprinkle it on this smoothie and it turns it kind of a little bit more salty, which is nice. I tend to eat them that way pretty frequently. Day 27 is right here. And today we're going to learn that a green smoothie that tastes good doesn't have to be complicated. We're going to literally use 2 ingredients. We're going to use a bunch of basil and some watermelon. Here I have some watermelon already prepared with the rind removed. I'm going to throw it in, seeds and all. And then I'm just going to start taking the basil leaves off the stem. I know in previous videos I didn't do this, but because this is going to be kind of a summery smoothie, like a mojito, I find it nice to underblend these smoothies a little bit. And in that case, the stems do get a little in the way. So for this smoothie, remove the stems off the basil. On a nice hot summery day, this smoothie is what's up. And because we have our watermelon, we might not need to use any water at all. We're about to find out. Lid goes on. Oh, optional. If you want to add ice to this, that makes it quite delicious. Because it's not hot right now where I live, I'm not going to put ice in this smoothie. I'm going to drink this one at roughly room temperature. That's not a nutritional thing, that's just a personal preference. Here we go. Let's give it a jiggle and see how it does with no water. I might have not cut up enough watermelon. Well, if that's the case, at home, use more watermelon. See? Yep. I fumbled this one, didn't I? So this is a 2-ingredient smoothie. Let's see how it tastes. Delicious, divine. With like a little umbrella in the backyard of your house. Big hit, I guarantee it. Day 28. This is day 28. Today we're going to take some inspiration from yesterday. Yesterday we used watermelon. Today we're going to do honeydew. So honeydew contains a lot of water. This smoothie thus may not need a full pint of water. We're also going to use mint. We're going to mint bomb this thing. So in you go. We have some peaches. And I'm going to throw a little bit of water just because. Maybe half a pint. Let's start there. And now we blend. Just like with the previous smoothie, I tend to underblend this one because it's kind of like a honeydew colada. Wowza, that smells delicious. Heck yeah. Mmm. Mmm. Mm-hmm. Yum. Green smoothie enthusiasts, you've made it to day 29. Knuckle it. This is the last of the melon smoothies. I'm going to use honeydew as well as some of my leftover watermelon. I'm going to throw some parsley in it. I'm going to parsley bomb this smoothie. Strawberries with top and some water. Let's go. Wham. Boom. Break this guy up a little bit. Strawberries. And water, maybe like half the water. It's pretty liquidy stuff here. Another winner. Yep. We've reached our last day of the challenge. This is day 30. If you made it the entire way, I can't be more proud. You guys rock, seriously. You did something that's very healthy and very huge for yourself. And now that the challenge is over, I have another challenge for you. Don't stop. At this point, you guys are smoothie experts. You don't need me anymore. Go to the store, buy greens, buy fruits, and start blending your own smoothies. Do it every day. Heck, I've been on a green smoothie challenge now for over 10 years, and I'm feeling great. And that's really important to me, because you can't buy health. Well, actually you can. You can go to the store, buy greens, blend them up, and that's how you buy health. If you need more inspiration, feel free to check out my ebook. It has the same title as this movie. It's called 30-Day Green Smoothie Challenge ebook. It's available on my website, sergeyboutenko.com. The ebook contains more bonus recipes so that you have another month of making smoothies without having to think about it. The other thing you can do is you could just restart the challenge from the beginning. That's perfectly okay too. It's been such a pleasure educating you guys about smoothies and sharing my life with you, and I wish you all of the best in your future endeavors. What can I tell you that you don't already know? You're gonna destem the kale, but you already knew that. I know something I can tell you. It's about the golden kiwis. Okay, so once your kale is in the blender, you're gonna move along to a fruit we haven't seen in this challenge yet. These are golden kiwis. They're not genetically modified to be golden, they're just a different variety. And if you don't know what golden kiwis are, or if you can't find them, use regular kiwis. But I like these way better. They're just sweeter and they're less acidic. So the easiest way to peel them is to just cut them in half and take a teaspoon and scoop them right out. Has that been a good takeaway for you guys? That a teaspoon can do just about anything? It's true, it can. So 2 golden kiwis go in the blender. If you get a little peel, it's no big deal. It's perfectly edible. We have our peaches, our dates without pits, strawberries with the greens attached, that's right. And our avocado. You know what? Here's a third way to get an avocado out. No cutsies, just scoop it out with a spoon. And water to help it blend. I can already tell, see how much the kale acts like a sponge? So it's preventing the fruit from sitting on the blades, which means the Boutenko shuffle has to happen. More. If you get a green mustache, that's just a bonus. I dedicate this last smoothie to all of my wonderful Kickstarter backers. You guys and girls are angels, and I absolutely appreciate your love and support. And thank you very much for supporting my ideas when they're just that, ideas, they're not even real. And with your help, we make these ideas real, and we get people to drink smoothies, and we get their health to change. So thank you very much. Cheers.